Yeah, we're off. Right. Hello guys, girls. This is Alan. Marcus, me son. Right, we thought we'd do a podcast. Mark's not done one before with me.
I'm the good looking one.
Right. Probably true. So, I'm going to start the debate off, because I was asking him a couple of questions yesterday, right, about this government narrative. First we heard, beginning of year, early last year, about national service, and then we heard about the draft, and now we're hearing about conscripting people into the armed forces. So, it's just speculation, by the way, it's just our opinions. So, it's only speculation, don't take it as real. Right, so we're going to have this conversation. What do you, Marcus, feel about that sort of narrative when you hear these sort of things coming out, especially when Andrew Bridgen, with that podcast with Dr. Malik, where he said we're already at war with Russia, UK, because we've got boots on the ground operating missile systems. What do you think of that narrative? Where do you think it's leading?
Well, I think listening to Andrew Bridgen and that, obviously, you know, he's got a point, and it's not beyond the realms of possibility either. So, I mean, you know, there's pros and cons for why the war's taking place in Ukraine, and like I say, he seems to have a point where, you know, if there are certain claims that in order to launch certain things in Ukraine would take very experienced personnel in order to do it, then he may very well be right. There may be already boots on the ground in Ukraine, but obviously, you know, the mainstream media is not going to say that.
What do you think about the words they're using? Draft, national service, conscription.
Well, again, one could actually argue that, you know, the circumstances being where they are, it's quite easy to make that connection that there may be a possibility, only a possibility, mind you, that there may be what people may describe as a conventional war in Ukraine, which involves part NATO and part Russia.
You believe it could ever happen?
Well, it's possible. Anything's possible.
You think they're pushing for it?
Again, it's hard to say. I mean, you know, if you're going to look at it from a depopulation point of view, conventional wars have obviously been able to reduce that population. So, if it is that, I'm not saying it is that. I mean, that's just one impression. What could be happening amongst other things? Then again, it's all possible.
You don't think you ought to do with finance and
it could be
national debt? So
it could be to do with that. And one could argue that the US have always profited through certain wars. I say that in the sense that they've obviously put Europe in a position where it's having an impact on its overall GDP. One could make reference to Germany with that particular point, with being the industrial nation of Europe. I mean, in order to produce things, it obviously needs fuel, and that fuel is now being cut off from the Russian pipeline. So I do feel sorry for the Germans in that respect.
Yeah, but what about Western Europe with their energy? They're in the same boat, aren't
Oh,
they?
exactly the same boat, but I pick on Germany because obviously Germany is
the main power.
the main producing force in Europe.
Right. Where do you think we stand on that score with energy?
Well,
are we
there's
capable of just lasting what we get?
Yeah, well, there are claims that to some degree we have got a certain amount of self-sufficiency, especially with the Forties Field. I don't think we're doing too bad actually as a nation. Obviously, we're not a producing nation as such like Germany. We work on the finance sector, so from that point of view, it's not going to really affect us. But I think there's profiteering involved in it. I think the market can be sort of rigged to such a degree that certain corporations are going to make lots and lots of money from it.
Right. So that's just speculation about the war
Yeah,
and the words they're using.
yeah,
Me and you were not saying whether there's going to be a war, we're just speculating on what the narrative is.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
yes,
Right. So we're going to move on subjects because I'm going to
Yeah.
try to cover a few here, right, in a short podcast. What do you think about all this climate change, the rhetoric, the narrative, the pushing, everything they're relating it to, climate change, right? Increasing temperatures, this, that, and the other. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. What do you reckon to that narrative?
Well, it's hard to say. I mean, I'm not saying it's not possible, but equally so, you could also make an argument against it. I mean, it depends where you're coming from. I mean, they're saying at the minute is basically the need to reduce the carbon footprint. Now, it depends how you term the carbon footprint. I mean, you can be very more specific and look at the individual as a carbon footprint. So if they need to reduce the carbon footprint, are they actually saying they need to reduce the population?
Well, it sounds like to me that's how what we're talking about. That's how I see it.
Well, it's
Everyone's got a footprint.
I mean, my view is this. I can't seem to square the globalistic point of view. On the one hand, you're getting globalists who believe in free travel, this and the other, and on the same token, you get the same people moaning about the CO2, increase in CO2. Now, how do you square that circle?
Well, by their rhetoric, it's an emergency. We're at a boiling point now, aren't we?
No, but what I'm saying is, if
Wow,
these
it doesn't feel like it out there, does it?
if these people, the point I'm actually saying is, if these people are actually promoting globalisation, in other words, freedom to travel and everything else, and then on the next token they're saying, well, you can't really travel because you're creating too much CO2. So they're either globalists or they're not.
Right.
You can't have it both ways.
No, I know what you're saying. Right. Moving on to another point. Me and you hear a lot, especially because we deal with a lot of old people.
Yes.
Just recently, our friend is having trouble. Well, he did have trouble. He sorted it out. Making appointments with doctors. What do you think all that's about? Why do you think it's become so difficult? Do you think it's absolutely deliberate?
Yeah, I do.
Right. In what aspect do you feel?
Well, I mean, one could argue they're getting ready to privatise the NHS. In order to do that, how do you actually do that? Well, first of all, you have to create what seems to be a problem in order to get a reaction and a solution. So if you defund the NHS, the political parties then can, in effect, say, well, we've got a cure for it. What we'll actually do, we'll implement the private sector in. And it's basically privatisation through the back door. Privatisation in the NHS is not new. It's been around probably since about 2012 onwards. And I'm afraid to say, you're getting privatisation whether you like it or not.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it?
Yes.
They're pushing down that road now.
Yes.
Well, carrying on with the doctors, AI.
Yes.
Very much in the news these days.
Yes.
Everything is AI.
Yes.
Right. I'm fascinated by it. I don't know how you feel about it. How do you feel about AI?
Well, I feel devastated for people who use cognitive thinking as a way to generate a living, because AI, in my opinion, it will actually do away with that. And what I actually mean by anybody who uses thought as a means to generate a living, such as accountants, lawyers, accountants, solicitors, doctors, they're gone. Honestly, they're absolutely gone.
Yeah.
If they improve the AI to such an extent which they claim that they can actually do, which is another question, then they have gone. You're already seeing these computer apps already about, and just, I mean, a point which I've just mentioned with the accounting. I can't remember what the app is. It's on TV. Is it in?
Some of the books.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, some of the
Sage
books.
and all that.
Yeah, Sage and that. So
Yeah.
it goes to show you, basically, when you're getting these sort of the technologies actually involved, there's going to be massive job losses, in my opinion.
Yeah. And it seems to be a lot of people look at it as the working classes, but in effect, what you're saying, and I'm not disagreeing with you because I think it is that way as well, right? When you get them sort of applications, especially in the medical profession,
Yes.
is AI going to take over doctors?
Yeah, I always remember the chess match. I can't remember what it was, where the computer played the chess champion, the Russian.
Karpov.
Karpov was it? And obviously, I think he won the first one, and obviously the second one, the machine won him. I think from that point on, the days are numbered. If you're asking me,
Yeah.
the machine learning aspect of it, because that's what it comes under, machine learning.
Yeah. You think all this conversation with doctors, with people, with Zooming over the computer, you think that's the start of it, right? Where you can no longer go to surgery to book an appointment. You have to do it through phone or Zoom, right? So we're already on that treadmill. It's already going that way.
I think what it is, it's not hard to design a program. I mean, I'm not professing to have any medical knowledge whatsoever, but what I'm saying is this. You got all the data, so you see an expert, and what they say is right. It's basically, it's like building a probability tree. You're asking certain questions, you're working down the tree, and eventually get to one answer. So, to me, it's not very hard to sort of incorporate that within an app to take the place of a doctor. So basically, it'll ask you questionnaires. You click the questionnaire, it gives you another set of questions, and there might be like 4 or 5 different questions, and eventually it fetches you to a conclusion. So from that point of view, yeah, you can see I taking over the medical profession.
Yeah, what I were asking, you think it's all, this is it, this is the start of it?
Well, yeah, I mean, end of the day, you're in a technology age now. I mean, people will say you come from a feudal system into an industrial system, now you're going into a digital platform system, so you're sort of evolving into the digital age.
Right. So hopefully we've covered that, you know.
Yes.
Again, it's all speculation on our part. Right, do your own research, people, by the way.
Well, it is speculation, but what I would say to people is this: you only just got to look around. You've got like eBay, Amazon's, you've got lots of digital platforms who are nothing more than introducers as such, and they're just taking a fee. You know what I mean? And that's how it is.
Right. So we're going to move out the medical profession now, right? And that is, what you get also getting is this, isn't it? A lot of people seem to have lost faith in the system, full stop, right? It's like they're looking at it and they know it's only a one-party system, right? Both parties that say they're just driving the same agenda, right? Do you ever believe we ever lived in a democracy?
No.
Or explain why.
Well, democracy is in two forms: direct democracy, indirect democracy. Basically, direct democracy is where you would say all have a referendum. Indirect democracy is when you're supposed to pick a representative and they're supposed to have your best interest at heart. The flaw with indirect democracy is this. Yes, you might. I will get to whether the choice of the candidate's democratic as well, but let's just assume that it is. And that you then pick a representative who's supposed to then represent you in what we call Parliament. The problem is that person is no different to anybody else and will act in their own self-interest. So, to me, is that democratic? Is it democratic? You know what I mean? Because that's the thing. People, as a general rule, act in self-interest. And MPs, I'm afraid to say, are no different from anybody else. So, even though as a constituent or as a collective constituent, say Doncaster or wherever for instance, and you pick somebody who's supposed to represent you in Parliament, you know, what happens when he goes against his constituent? He's acting in his interest and not in the interest of the constituent. And I'm afraid...
the party's interest.
Or the party's interest.
Yeah, towing the line, as
well, yeah, towing the line.
And not following what his constituency has put him in power to do. And that is to follow their voice.
Well, the thing is as well, you see, what people got to appreciate is politics now is to such an extent that when you've got big corporations acting as lobbyists, and gain the ear of the MP, so to speak, then I'm afraid to say my view is that, generally speaking, the government or the MPs tend to more than not act for the big lobbyists. I mean, that's how I see it.
Yeah, that's how it operates, isn't it, really?
I mean, America's supposed to be a big prime example of that. The lobby groups.
Yeah.
They're just, and we're getting the same system.
Yeah.
I say getting the same system. We've probably already had it for quite a long time. It's just probably becoming more apparent now.
Yeah. So, what you're saying is that your view is that really who are in control of the lobby groups, whether it be Big Pharma, Defamation League, whatever group they belong to, corporations, right, for big industry, right, they're the real controllers of power.
Yeah, I mean, that's my view. I mean, I've got different views as well. That's my view. It's very long-winded. I would actually get you to that view, but generally speaking, that's my view. I just think that politics is to such an extent now that money actually talks, and then when you're in a position where you're getting lobbied all the time, and you're trying to influence the MPs or the legislation to be changed in your favour, it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, when you're getting big sponsorships, political parties are getting big sponsorships by big corporations for millions of pounds. They're not going to give millions of pounds for nothing.
No.
You know what I mean?
No.
For the good of mankind.
No.
The corporations, just like individuals, they act in self-interest.
Yeah.
They want something in return.
Yeah, of course they do.
Of course they do.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's how it seems to be operating.
Well, they want the law changing in their favour.
Yeah. Yeah. And forget the common man. Forget
I've
society, not just the common man.
I think one of the biggest problems today is, if you're asking me, is standards.
Yeah.
There's standards in things. I think as a nation, you're getting shortchanged.
Yeah.
I always talk to customers about the BS standards, which are supposed to be British standards. I think the bullshit standards. That's what they think. All it's for is for big corporations to basically get straight through standards.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it's cheap for production and eye for profit.
Yeah.
And how do they do that? They lobby the MPs, get legislation changed. These are the minimum standards you can get through. Honestly, I kid you not.
Right. Well, we're coming up 17 minutes. We don't want to make it too long of a podcast.
Yeah.
Right? Because we'll come back and talk another day.
We can talk now, make another one.
Right. Well, I don't want to make too many at once because what I've found with doing these sort of things is don't keep loading them up, because what people tend to do when you load too many up together, you don't get the audience like you would if you leave it a while, right?
Yeah, but do you know what I would say?
But yes,
honestly, I
right.
think what it is with this video, which has been really nice, don't get me wrong,
no.
But you're trying to cram too many subjects into one.
Yeah, but what we'll do,
thing.
Yeah, I know. But what I'm doing is just introducing people to subject matter we talk about. Right, we haven't talked about him in depth, right, which you're like saying we should. I'm not saying we shouldn't, but not on this video. It's an intro into me and you. This is the first one we've done between us. So, don't get me wrong, people. Me and Mark could talk about not just a few subjects we've talked now. We talk on all sorts of different subjects, right? But on the next one, we'll pick a subject.
Yeah, I think
and we'll do the full podcast on that subject.
Yeah, I agree with what my dad's actually said, because the thing is, my dad's sort of generally asked me generalised questions. And obviously the thing is, we're being new to, I'm going to say podcasting, vlogging, whatever you call it, is I'm trying to think off the cuff.
Yeah.
But when we get into more subject, you become more involved in it, then you can sort of see how we get to the conclusion we sort of get to. If that makes sense.
Yes, a deeper conversation about one particular subject in the podcast to come.
Yeah.
But I think we've done pretty well with this one, because it's an introduction to you.
Yeah.
Right, and to me talking to his son talking to father.
Yeah.
Just to give people a flavour what we discussed, and I think we've done it pretty well. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I think what it is as well, because there's a terminology, and I will give David Icke his credit, the dot connector. I have a similar point of view as well, whereby everything's sort of interrelated. So, I mean, you can sort of look at the economy and everything that sort of derives from that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So, yeah, fine.
Right? Yeah. So, we've got that out of the way now.
Yeah.
So, what we're going to do here now, we're going to leave this now, so we're not going to bombard you with too much. But the next time we do another podcast, we're going to discuss a subject for the old podcast, so we can get deeper in, because me and Marcus have been down lots of rabbit holes. Right, it's only our opinion, and a lot of things, it's just speculation in his own mind. But to give you a flavour of it, which I hope I've done today, well, obviously we haven't covered everything we talk about. Jesus Christ, there's no on planet we don't talk about. We have some discussion about something. Is that not true?
Yeah.
Or every day about something. You know what I mean? It's not all the same subjects. We go on and on and on and on, don't we, really?
Yeah, then Steve comes.
Yeah.
Then Steve comes and finger pointing.
yeah. So, however you got this from me, however you got this, and so be it.
Yes.
And I'll just leave Marcus with the final word about future podcasts.
Yeah. Do look good.
Is that all you want to say?
Yeah, it's fine, no problem.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Right, we'll end there then, folks. Okay then, bye.